The European Union announced the end to national sovereignty, Brussels to add 5 more presidents to run the continent of Europe, and the Scottish Labour Party elect a new leader. Hello everyone and welcome to today's first program. The European Union have come out to essentially introduce a new modelling to run the continent of Europe. The national sovereignty is going to go. Before we start the video, just a quick reminder, as you guys know, because of the lockdown and all the doom and gloom in the news, we've introduced a new segment, News in Your World, at the end of each program, where we share your stories, your anything positive or happy in your life, any shout out you want to give, any personal achievements. You guys are able to send an email to us. The email address to send it to is lacey@mytousi.co.uk, and you could share any photos or videos related to the story as well. Now let's get on with the show, because the European Union and the European Council specifically have come out with David Sassoli to introduce a new proposal to create more powers, new powers for the European Union, which means that this is the end, the beginning of the end of national sovereignty. All the 27 member states, who are some of them trying to do their own things, including Hungary and Italy, making their own decisions, or for example, when you had Germany, France and Netherlands signing their own contracts with AstraZeneca, all that is going to go, all the vetoes are going to go, and they've also decided to introduce 5 new presidents, as if Ursula von der Leyen wasn't enough. Now let's go to this video we have of David Sassoli that is going to introduce this new proposal.
Abbiamo bisogno di un salto di qualità. E allora io credo, e questo è stato il mio messaggio al Consiglio, dobbiamo riflettere su come non tornare indietro e come codificare nuovi poteri all'Unione su una politica.
That's the thing. So firstly, he's talking about a new code. Let's codify new powers for the European Union, because going backwards is a bad thing. A lot of the so-called liberal progressives or globalists always use the word, being conservative or going backwards as a bad thing. Doesn't mean that you actually have to go back to the medieval times. Going back to the original concept of sovereignty and democracy is not a bad idea. But David Sassoli here is actually going to use the excuse of public health, just like the World Economic Forum, who decided to use the public health and also the climate change as an issue, as an excuse to create a more centralized system. That's what he wants to do. Now he's going to talk about public health.
Europea per la salute. Come potremo difenderci dalle prossime pandemie e dalle prossime crisi se non metteremo le istituzioni europee nella condizione di avere quella forza e quei poteri?
He's talking about European institutions. What are these European institutions? But firstly, stop calling them European. These are EU institutions. There is a huge difference between institutions that are in Europe, that are linked to, again, elected governments across the continent, and the institutions that are unelected and they're not accountable to anybody and they only answer to Brussels and their bureaucrats. That's what he's talking about. He wants to create more of these institutions and more powers for them. And you think that's bad? What he's about to say next is even worse.
Questo sia il momento giusto. Intervenire sui trattati non può essere un tabù, non è un tabù.
See? Intervening on the current treaties should not be a taboo. As if the current treaties that they've already signed across the continent, well, again, 27 member states, were not bad enough. He already wants to make those changes, and he actually wants to create a situation where, just like what Guy Verhofstadt has been saying for a long time, getting rid of the vetoes, getting rid of the actual prime ministers and presidents having a say. So this is the whole point of even renegotiating or reimposing new treaties over the existing ones. Are you kidding me?
Penso che il tema di un trasferimento di competenze per realizzare quello che i nostri cittadini ci chiedono, cioè difesa della salute.
Really? European citizens are asking you for health protection. When did they do that? Who are these people? What people in Europe, just like anywhere else in the world, are doing? They're asking their own elected governments and their own communities and society to do something about health in general. We're not just talking about the current situation, just general public health. No one's actually going to Brussels and say, apart from your Euro-federalists, ordinary people out there, their first go-to institution is not Brussels. It starts from the local authorities and their actual national governments and their society in general. He's just talking about nonsense now.
europee sia il momento giusto per farlo. Ecco perché io sono contrario, e l'ho detto al Consiglio, ad accordi bilaterali tra Stati e le aziende farmaceutiche. Noi dobbiamo migliorare le performance dell'Unione, non tornare indietro. E sarebbe scandaloso, questo sì scandaloso, se si tornasse alla logica del più forte o dei più forti.
Well, he got angry at the end. It's a classic. It's a sort of speech that we heard in the 1920s and 30s in Italy, for example, from certain leaders. It's a whole same tone. I don't know why they're so obsessed with, in the name of being progressive, make everything centralized. He actually said, you heard it there, that he's actually talking about individual countries, so-called sovereign countries in the European Union should not be allowed to sign their own bilateral agreements with any pharmaceutical companies or anywhere else at this point. So this is the massive clampdown. This is the beginning of their project, which is the United States of Europe. And it's going to continue. And they have the backing of World Economic Forum and all the other massive institutions across the world. And a lot of big corporations are also behind it. Because, they're not going to lose out. It's going to be small businesses and ordinary people who are living in Europe that will be affected by this. Now, the next thing that they're going to do is the current president of the European Commission. As if that wasn't bad enough, they just had the EU's conference on the future of Europe. That's going to be outlining all these new ideas. They're going to abandon the idea of a single president in favor of having 6 presidents instead. So that's like 3 honorary presidents and 3 executive presidents. So Percy, what's the point of the first 3? Is it just a title? Are they really obsessed with titles that much? Secondly, they're going to have 3 executive presidents there. So one person can't even run the whole thing. Are you seriously telling me that if you have 3 presidents in charge of the continent, essentially, and the commission, that they're going to be able to make better decisions? No, everything's going to be worth. They're just creating more jobs for themselves and their own friends. It's just cronies over and over again. It's been happening for a few decades anyway. But these new 6 presidents will include 3 of them. So the Commission President von der Leyen and also President David Sassoli, and the current, obviously, sitting presidency of the council as well. That's going to be the new powers. They're going to bring all of them together. And because, again, you have the 3 branches, the Parliament, the European Council, and the European Commission. Sometimes they don't agree. So what they want to do is, in the name of streamlining everything, they're going to basically make everything centralized from the European Commission. This is absolutely embarrassing. Everything in the West currently is becoming centralized. All the institutions are becoming less accountable. I mean, even in this country, it's happening. Even across Europe, up to a point where the Italian Prime Minister has now said to the European Council that you should just follow the UK's vaccine strategy by giving priority to the first doses. But they're not listening to him. No one listens because no one's actually accountable at this point. Again, in this country, we have a situation where institutions are not really accountable, and all the political parties and all the political leaders at this point, most of them, are so complacent. We have the Labour Party, for example, that's supposed to be the opposition. They're not really doing anything about that. You have some of their members, for example, Dr. Rosana Alin Khan, who she was a doctor, or is a doctor still, and used to be in hospitals. She decided to spread some fake news about the NHS. Firstly, she posted a photo of Spain, somewhere in Spain was that kind of hospital that was a bit of a mess. She had to delete that. Then she posted this, again, fake news. She tweeted saying that here are our incredible UK nurses having to use bin bags as PPE. It's widely documented, shameful, and ministers know this. The government need to answer why this was ever allowed to happen. Firstly, apparently, one of the photos is not really accurate. It's not in the UK again. The other one of the people who actually are working in the A&E, especially, well, actually, there's an ICU nurse who came out to speak out against what the Labour Party has been spreading, saying that as an ICU nurse, I would have to argue that the above pictures do not show bin bags being worn. The left picture looks like the long-sleeved plastic aprons that we use all the time. And the right picture looks like people using pink aprons to cover their head, which in accordance with the Public Health England is not required. So this is not some sort of scandal that the Labour Party tried to expose. There are actual scandals happening, from the government side, from all the other institutions. Yet the Labour Party are so complacent about this, they're just going with either lies, fake news, or just petty party politics. Now, speaking of the Labour Party, the Scottish Labour Party have elected their new leader. I mean, everybody forgot that they were actually doing this. Their former leader already left. And so Anas Sarwar, who's going to be the new leader of the Scottish Labour Party, and everyone's so happy on their centre left, saying that finally we've elected someone from the BAME community, someone who's not white, so diverse. So we had Lisa Nandy coming out to say that I'm so delighted because the new Scottish Labour leader, the first BAME leader of any political party elected on a promise to heal our many divisions. Okay, is this really the first BAME or anyone who's not your classic Caucasian or white, or again not from an ethnic minority? What happened to Benjamin Disraeli, who was Jewish? What happened to Michael Howard, whose background is Romanian Jewish? What happened to Ed Miliband, whose parents were Jewish as well? Maybe they don't really count. That's not the right category, is it? Also, talking about diversity, Lisa Nandy and others are celebrating that we've gone diverse. The other person who was standing was Monica Lennon. Yeah, Lennon. And she lost. She only got 42%. So, considering the biggest problem right now for the Labour Party is electing a female leader, they're not really concerned about that. But we've found someone whose skin colour is slightly darker than the others. So let's just celebrate. You still can't elect a female leader, and you're complaining about all the other stuff that's happening. But also this guy, look at his background, because his ideology, he actually described himself as a Brownite. He's criticised Tony Blair, fair, and Jeremy Corbyn, also fair. But being a Brownite at this point it's the same thing that Ed Miliband tried to do and failed. Not being a Blairite is a good idea. Not being a Corbynite is a good idea. But his political hero, as he says himself, is Gordon Brown. Sure, that's not going to end well for his leadership, considering he opposed the leaving of the European Union. And even after Brexit happened, or the vote happened, he decided to campaign to keep us inside the single market, and he was against the financial programs and austerity policies that the government did. What he decided to say was that while criticizing Jeremy Corbyn himself, he says that if I'm elected as a new leader, my economic plans would be even more progressive and radical than Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell. So I don't know what his problem was with Jeremy Corbyn, probably in terms of his character and as a person, but policy-wise, it's the same with Sir Keir Starmer, that he said, I don't like Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, but I agree with the policies. So this Brownite mentality is really nonsense, because the whole Scottish Labour Party are going to go with Corbynism in general. But this globalist mentality that the European Union and the Labour Party are supporting, and then everybody else will continue in the next few months, because now that apparently we're coming out of lockdown, they're going to use all these new powers to make everything centralized. We'll keep you guys posted on this channel as usual. Now, in today's News in Your World, we have the latest story from one of our subscribers, Aaron, who lives in Stansted. Aaron actually emailed to say that because of the lockdown from the beginning, all the local parks were closed. So parents couldn't actually take their children. Everyone had to stay at home. But even when the government said you can go for a walk, they couldn't go to parks. So what he decided to do outside his house, there in the countryside, he decided to make a tree swing. And he built this for his own kids to enjoy. And after a while, all the local parents and children decided to actually use this. Now it's created a small community. Some sort of fake local park, which is actually really nice. Again, during the time when some of the measures have been irrational. Again, when you tell people you can go for a walk, but you actually close the local park, it's not sending mixed signals. Aaron decided to be more creative on this issue. So he did this for his own family, but everybody else actually enjoys it, so they get together. Although we did receive a video. There's one person that specifically uses it more than anybody else. Let's watch this. Yeah, Aaron seems to be really happy, so he's been using it more than anybody else. But no, thanks for sharing your story, Aaron. If you guys also want to have a chance to be featured, if you have anything happy that you want to share with everybody else, feel free to email us at lacey@mytc.co.uk. And if there are any photos or videos related to the story, don't forget to attach them as well. Tonight, 8 p.m, we have a live stream. It's going to be a big one, because we're going to talk about the World Economic Forum's Build Back better, and a number of other issues that's going on this week. Unfortunately, Lacey won't be able to join us. She's not feeling too well. She's just still recovering, but it's just going to be me with you guys. So if you want to join us, 8 p.m. live stream right here on this channel. Don't forget to click on the thumbs up button. It really helps the channel spread the videos. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tousi, and I'll see you guys in the next video.